Seun had always been a wonderful child, even before her birth. I remember that we started noticing some different things about her life from as early as when she was 1 month old. Then this child is going to be a kind of special child or something.
I want the world to know that one woman lived, and without any iota of arrogance, influenced our world and our community. And I'm the greatest beneficiary of that influence.
I think I'm like her in a lot of ways, and it's kind of like a blessing and a curse.
1 in a billion, 1 in 7.5 billion people on this earth. You can never find someone like her.
Seun is love exemplified. Everything you can ask for any human.
As close as we were to, sometimes she gets angry and she will say, we should fight. She wants to attack me. I will say,
Growing up with her was interesting, it was fun, except when we were much younger, as teenagers, and we fought physically on some occasions.
She was running and crying. I remember looking over my shoulder like, why is this one crying like a baby?
By all means, Seun falls in the class of Mrs. Lapidot. She led battles without carrying a gun.
There are so many people out there, they say they are Christians, but she is somebody personally that will say this woman is a woman of God.
Sometimes I say, Joe, are you on drugs?
She was one of the very few people that made me think marriage is
A very decent human being who was very humble.
She's the closest thing to perfect. Like, my uncles are not the easiest people to be with. Trust me, they will try you, and they did try.
So when I got there and I saw Seun in my mind, I said this girl is too pretty for my brother.
She prefers to be in her shell. Pick her friends that will be in the same shell with her.
She has the right word for the right occasion and for the right person all the time.
It was when I was working with Seun that my books were the cleanest.
We used to call her the conscience of the church.
There are a few people I try to model my life after. My uncle is one of them. And when I started thinking about after she passed, I was like, wow, I want my life to be like this.
I remember when I was pregnant with her, I was having a lot of problems, so much difficulty that it got to a stage I couldn't walk again. So I was usually crawling on all fours. So I had to check into a church, and I delivered this girl at 8 months, which they say medically it is rare unless they are twins. But I had Seun 4th of May. 1979. When my sister got pregnant with Seun, Tunde, as a toddler then, used to tell her mom, why is your stomach this big? And the mom will say, it is Eba.
I recall the day my mom went to the hospital and she had a green maternity gown. I remember that. She went and, oh, you have a sister now.
The day Seun was birthed, and they eventually brought her home. They started train the mother. From as early as when she was 1 month old, we discovered very early enough that Seun was a very brilliant and attentive baby. The baby cot that she was using that time. We just noticed that when she turned to a particular side, she would begin to cry all day long. But if by chance or anything you turn her around, she will stop until we noticed that it was a particular item inside the wardrobe that was scaring her. A 1-month-old baby. She could recognize everything around her. Same with Tenenla. Then by the time she was about 1 year, 8 months, whenever they are taking Sunday to school, she will start crying. She wants to go to school too. I was like, Kini li tipini yi lo fe lo ma se ni school. But we realized that when the brother returns from school, I will now remove that one's uniform, put it on her, and she will be happy. So I decided that, okay, let her start school. At age 18 months, the mom took her to First Baptist Nursery School. She could recite any poem, even at that age. She would be reciting everything. It was like she took every one of us back to nursery school. Yoshisha here, taboo. Fuga is sweet, and so we are. She will recite that poem, she will demonstrate it.
So the first place after leaving home was an informal school, what they call daycare at that time. Now they call it crèche. So when she graduated, so to say, from that place, she moved to a proper nursery school. That is the First Baptist. That one was on Broad Street.
You know, we went to the same primary school, just the two of us. My brother went to a different school. So we went to the same school, Maryland Nursery and Primary School, Ifako Bagada. You know, it started from Fadei, you know, then we moved from Jibo Fadei, we moved to Ifako Bagada, Maryland Nursery and Primary School. Then from there, we ended up at Ikijade Nursery and Primary School at OLUWASEUN Ruth, which coincidentally is very, very close to their house.
She still turned soccer. And she sucked that thumb till she entered secondary school.
As a routine, every weekend, take Sean to make her hair. We go to the local salon that they call Onidiri. That time I know the names. There's a Pakwele there. It's a routine. In fact, usually I back her. And you know, because I'm older than her, I just want to protect her.
Oh my God, very brilliant.
Very brilliant. She did a common entrance in primary 5 at Ikijade Nursery and Primary School. In the whole of Lagos State, she came second.
But for Surulere, Mushin, blah, blah, blah area, she came first.
Star girl. She was brilliant. Extremely brilliant. I wasn't that privileged. And ideally, you are supposed to be the first child, pace setter. Meanwhile, academically, this person is doing better than you are. So at the point in time, I felt, oh, these people don't like me.
From Ikija, she left for Regan.
Secondary school, known as Regan Baptist Girls, Sabo Yaba.
She came to live with me briefly. The parents had to move to Ikorodu, so she had to come and stay with me at Apapa Road. So at Apapa Road, I was first new as Mommy Shion. My husband too. A lot of people, our co-tenants at Apapa Road, Desalu Street, till date, they knew my husband as Daddy Shion.
I knew our friends in Regan, Buki Odulesi, who is now Buki Olabi, and Itomo Reggae, you know. They both stayed at the other side of Fadei, so I knew some of our friends. They also, you know.
We grew up together in Fadei. I met her precisely when we were in secondary school, Regan Memorial Baptist Girls. She's, I'll put it as the Ajebota side of Fadei. Me, I'm more like the mixed breed. Daddy drops her in school. That's why I said she's the Ajebota side. So having identified at least one or two of us, myself, Eniton, or Morige too. So we now started going home together.
We were neighbors in Fadei. Neighbors that turned to family. Well, Fadei was cool that time, but she was quiet, she was conservative, and she had a beautiful testimony growing up. As a teenager that I knew her, she wasn't wayward, she wasn't rough. You know, she was a good girl.
When she was attending Reagan in her 4th year, I worked in Lagos Island. On my way coming from Lagos Island, I would pick her up where she used to do her extramural lesson. A lot of my then colleagues got close to Shion. They knew her very well, and they would be commending me and the mom that you have such a beautiful, brilliant, and very reserved girl, which Shion was.
Where we grew up, the people around us, they were vices for young girls our age. But Sheon, despite what was happening around her, Sheon didn't give room for such, even before she met Christ.
There was a time we had to go for a party. And of course, Sheon's daddy would not allow her to go. She now said, okay, the only way they will allow her go to that party is if I agree to go to the party as well. So I had to go home with her. And of course, the first thing mommy asked was, is Bukola going to that party? And when I said yes, she said, okay, no problem, you can go.
Brilliant, highly intelligent. And I know she was southpaw, lefty like me. She was a one-woman squad on her own. No, she didn't have lots of friends coming around, noise and all that. No, she wasn't that kind of person.
She played football and video games with us, but she's also very emotional, very shy, very reserved.
I had one girl too. My daughter was the second child. Shion was the second child. And they were both only daughters. They saw themselves as sisters. And nobody cared to tell them they were cousins. And very close. At the time she was becoming a matured girl, I was at the upper scale of my career.
Then mommy was a career person, a corporate person, and we all used to admire mommy, the way she would dress and everything, perm her hair and all that.
So most of the time, I'm at work. Unfortunately, my bank happens to be at the forefront of this online real-time banking service. And it was so tedious. I was in banking operations. Sometimes I would sleep on my office table. So I was so career busy. It was my sister that was usually home because she was sick.
And if mommy is not busy at work, no, she's in the house too. And, you know, like I said, they were a wonderful family.
Of course, because I'm a guy and she's female. It was basically just 2.5 years difference. So we grew up together. We fought. Yeah. As a, she wanted to do she's egbo, so we got physical. I remember, my brother, there was a day while we were in Shiro, Friday, there was a day my brother decided to say, okay, we should fight physically, just like WrestleMania. Yeah, so it was in our living room while our parents had gone to work and he told us to fight, physically. So we're fighting, what they call Gidigbo wrestling.
There was a time I went to Sheon's place. You see this argument between Tenila and Ara. And I said I have told her, don't take after the Odueso twins. So the Odueso twins, that's my mom and her twin sister. They are cat and mouse. So Sheon and I, as close as we were to, sometimes when she gets angry and she will say, we should fight. I will now hold her hand. She will now be telling me, you this weakling, you can't fight. Leave me, let us fight. I will say, and because I can't eat her, with one hand, I will hold both hands. She's saying, leave me alone. You are a weak man. You weakling, leave me, let us fight. If you know you are man enough, let us fight.
But I remember one occasion, there was a guy, she was still in secondary school at that time.
I remember there was a guy who was just across the road, adjacent the house, who was trying to maybe call my sister at a point in time.
Very little boy, maybe about 17, 19-year-old. He would leave his parents at home and go and cross my daughter at school, Reagan. So one day she told me.
My dad had to go and warn the guy.
Myself and her dad, we went inside that boy's house to harass the boy. Never you come near my daughter again.
In fact, there was a time, they queried some things medically for Sheon. The doctor said Sheon was pregnant. So 1996, how will Sheon be there? My parents were like, Sheon doesn't go out, she doesn't have friends. The only person she's close to is the brother. Initially, they didn't buy the story. But when the doctor came up and said, a lot of things happen these days, we've seen this, you've seen that. Of course, women, their emotions could override their sense of reasoning. So my mom at the point, hey, Tunde is the only person that is close to Shion. I'm Tunde. You can imagine that, because I was very close to Shion. So at the end of the day, it was the doctor came to apologize. If it were insaner climbs, they would have sued the hospital. So Shion and I were close.
Shion's personality while we were in secondary school. So she's the quiet, gentle, easygoing girl. You hardly see Shion in the wrong mix of friends. She picks her friends.
At secondary school, it was her SS2 attempt that we used for her admission at university. Meanwhile, we just thought, let us expose her for trial. And she came out very well, very top, except for physics. And she attempted JAMB as well. She came out with very good results. And she said she wanted to do medicine. So by the time she did her SSE exams, I think she picked A1 in physics. Now we had a dilemma. She wanted medicine. Meanwhile, because of the SSC exams that she did, and she didn't make physics, in her JAMB form, we filled banking and finance, economics and all that. Now that she had come out with excellent results in her SSC, what do we do? How will she use the JAMB results for commercial to science? I remember that time OSU told us that if we can provide 200,000, officially they will process everything. But otherwise, she will have to go for what was in the form. Then UI gave her mathematics. My daughter said no. It's because at that time, their dad had fallen sick. It was a terminal sickness. So we were battling with that, which happened to be at the same time with her brother, her elder brother.
I finished a couple of years ahead of Shion. But during my time, or that time, JAM used to jam us a lot.
So I had to face the admission for 2 children while the dad is sick at home. So my daughter just looked at me like this and said, Mom, don't kill yourself. Why are you bothering yourself? See me. I'm future CBN governor. Let's go for the banking and finance.
I think 2 years at home, then the 3rd year, I went to Lagos State Polytechnic. Then OSU admission came. So we both went to OSU. I was admitted for economics, while Shion was admitted for banking and finance.
I've known Shion since 1997. We were in the same class in uni. We studied banking and finance. So
started in OSU days when we were in Ogun State University. Then we were really close. But then that's, just far away eye. Very innocent way of saying hello, hi as young girls.
When she got to OSU, my cousin was already there, Fola Daudu. He's now in the UK. And he was attending a fellowship there called OBCF, Ogunvasiti Christian Fellowship in Agowaye. So gradually she started attending OBCF with my cousin. And that's how, she became a member of OBCF.
We went to the same university. And I would say Shion met me before meeting her. When they were in 100 level and the fellowship organized a program for them, I was already in my 200 level and I've become established in the fellowship and I anchor a lot of programs, Master of Ceremony. I remember going for that program, introducing myself. My name is Nee Adebanjo. Fine boy, no pimples, fine dimples, 6-footer. And she went home to go and tell her mom that, oh, they had this program for us, and there was this arrogant guy who calls himself fine boy, 6-footer, and blah, blah, blah.
There was a day there was a riot. We were all running. You know how it is on campus. And she was running and crying. And I remember looking over my shoulder like, why is this one crying like a baby? But we helped her because we knew she was in our class. Okay, just come, let's get transport together and get out of this place. So that's really my earliest memory of her. So it's stuck as, oh, vulnerable, not someone that liked stress and all that because she was just crying. But then the relationship was cemented over time when there was a burglary at her place. So she asked me if she could come and stay with me. I was like, oh yeah, the more the merrier.
But there was a time she went to read somewhere for an exam, and she was to go to the exam hall from where she slept.
But I remember the morning of the exam, that stood out for me. The morning of the exam, her brother came.
And she didn't remember to take any shoe along with her. I picked 3 different shoes and took it to where she was.
And he was like, oh, I didn't know which pair of shoes she was going to need. And I was like, what?
Our friends, they were like, how did your brother know that you didn't bring a shoe and you need the shoe to go to write your exam?
She's fine. She's not a baby. Leave her. That's why she's always crying. She looked vulnerable on the outside. But over time, I realized she mugged a lot of us. She had that persona of, oh, breakable, vulnerable, but she had a heart of steel.
When I went to Osutu, she was in her final year. I came in, as a diploma in law student. So I stayed with her.
We were church girls, so we would go for fellowship together. She joined the choir.
I tried some other fellowship because my sister was in OBCF and committed in OBCF, and some of them used to come home to visit her. People like late Dari Sanya, Jiogunubi, who I think is now in Canada, and Oyiga Adeyefa, so some of those people will come home then. So I got, this is your brother, because I was planning, I had plans for school anyway. But because I was staying with her and she was a fellowship person, I didn't want them to say, Aburu. So I said, okay, let me just do this one until she leaves. When she leaves, I will do my own parole, my own lifestyle, So, but somehow those guys, I knew it was God working everything out. They appointed me because then they used to appoint ushers in OVCF. So they just called me as an usher. So I said, how can these people call me without? They said, you are tall, you'll be good and all that. And that's how I joined. And so by the time she left, I just continued.
She was very intelligent. I remember one of the first things I picked from her was she was very well spoken.
Out of the 3 of us, she was just exceptional academically.
She could be with people if you like, you're not serious. It doesn't mean she's going to be swayed. When it's time for Sheon to study, she's going to study. She wasn't the type that would study all night or whatever. I think she could assimilate easily and came out with flying colors.
When she graduated in OSU, she had a very strong, she just missed first class just by some points. Very, very strong 2-1.
So with guys, she was very pretty, but she was shy.
Very shy, very reserved.
There was a guy who used to hang around her.
My sister was not a boy person.
Used to hang around her. You could tell he was smithing.
Debo Adiaga was quite close to her. I think the guy kind of liked her.
You could tell he really liked her. He was fond of her. Used to hang out. We used to tease her about him a lot. But it was obviously not her type because she didn't end up with him. And then it was even so, when a guy he's over crushing. So
but I think maybe my sister felt the guy too was my sister is soft, so the guy too was like a softy kind of person. So maybe she felt if she had gone with Debo is a soft person, 2 of them would just be doing, But this other person, hey, is the kind of person that can say she move by, or I'm not sure you get what I'm saying. So
plus she had a big brother who was ready to give anybody the don't go near my sister, He joined the choir later. again, I'm sure to look out for her. Before I even joined the choir, he had called some people in the choir that anytime she has vigil, please make sure you watch over her, you know.
It will be injustice and the service if I do not mention a man called Reverend Jaisimi. He's actually my godfather. And of course, it took me like a son. He's a Methodist priest, but he lives his life like the regular Pentecostal born again, because he also influenced Sheol. So she was already prepared, you know, until we got to Osu.
I remember my dad then, shortly before he passed on, changed to a church, apostolic faith. You believe you pray through salvation. That's the doctrine over there. And I remember there was this day, you know, she went to the altar and she was praying, you know, for salvation and praying, and, you know, and there's something they do there. Once they see you praying at the altar, somebody will just come and join you there and start to say, oh, pray, bah, you know, and the moment they see you, as because if you don't say Jesus will show or something, you can be there for her. So as I think at the point maybe she just started saying like, maybe thank you Jesus. So they also they rejoiced that, oh, she has received salvation. So they congratulated my father. Finally your daughter has made it, you know, and all that. So has always been, I'm just trying to say, she has always been in the church environment. Then of course, like I said, when she got on campus, my cousin Fola Daudu, you know, took her to OVCF, and I think it was in OVCF she got saved. Then
so it was while at Osu, the Christian Fellowship, that is OVCF, that she eventually gave her life to Christ formally.
When she moved to Osu, she continued her personality, changed positively, yes. In terms of growth, physically, spiritually, yes. I think that improved, that increased. In between, she lost her dad. So I was surprised when I saw Samuel after they did that. Samuel, what are you doing? Arrest you? So he just told me that they lost their dad. Wow.
You know, my dad passed on March 27, 1998.
Chin was very, very close to her dad, a doting daughter to the father. In fact, Chin will practically be by the feet of their dad, tending him when I go to work. Her dad really calls her Shiu.
My dad used to call her Angel.
My angel.